She could not believe what she was hearing. A part of her mind suggested that it was a nightmare, but it felt so real. Was it true? Did she mean so little to these people? Did she have no value in their eyes as a human being? She felt her knees weaken as her body reacted in shock. Her eyes found her husband's, but his features were twisted in a look of utter disdain, and his arm was casually around the waist of the woman who he had told her was his second cousin. She felt a sudden and severe wave of vertigo and reached out her hands for something, anything to hold on to steady herself, but there was nothing within reach, so she lowered herself to the floor. Her hands sank into the plush green, gold and black carpet that perfectly framed the black settee and green walls. Her mind, rejecting her present predicament, flashed back to the moment she and the designer had found this gem of a rug at Mi Casa, and then to the day she had put the finishing touches on the living room decor. Every detail done to Jeremy's taste. Her mother-in-law was still talking. "I'm not getting any younger," she was saying, "and you yourself are getting older. I am sure you understand that we have been very patient with you, but we cannot wait forever. After all, what is the purpose of a woman, if not to give her husband children? Otherwise, she's nothing but a man, a roommate, and we do not need any roommates here. So here is the divorce document. Sign it and leave without trouble." Naomi looked up at the document she was holding out to her as she strove to get her knees under her. The room was still spinning, and she held her breath to keep from throwing up. Her mind was still struggling for an anchor. "Take it," her mother-in-law said roughly when she didn't reach for it, and shook it under her nose, her gold bangles jingling as she did so. Naomi looked at the jewelry catching the bright light of the hand-crafted glass chandelier hanging above them. When was it she had bought her that set? Was it a year already? She looked again and recognized the fabric of the dress her mother-in-law was wearing. She had bought both the bangles and the fabric on her trip to Morocco when she was decorating one of her clients' new houses, and had paid the designer who made it into a dress in time for her 60th birthday. Her nausea subsided, and her world steadied again. Her eyes wandered away from the dress and fixed themselves on her husband's face. "Jeremy," she said, "is this your choice? Is this what you want?" Her husband looked at her with a sardonic smile. "Jeremy," she said. Her husband scoffed at her, and taking the girl by the hand, he led her into their bedroom. "Jeremy," she called, disbelieving her own eyes. He had been unfaithful, but he had never brought them home. He had promised her the sanctity of her home, and for 8 years he had kept that promise. Until today. He shut the door behind them. Her mother-in-law was talking again, reasoning with her. "You must understand that Jeremy is my only child," she said, "and I cannot afford for him not to have a son of his own. Since you are barren, you must leave. Surely you understand this." "I am not barren. The problem is not with me. It is not my fault." The words were hardly out of her mouth when she slapped her across the face so hard that she fell against the epoxy and wood coffee table that she had ordered specifically for Jeremy. Blood trickled down her head. "I have told you to go without trouble. Jeremy may not hit you, but believe me, I will disgrace you if you do not pack up your things and leave my son's house immediately." "Is life all about having children?" Naomi cried, when she could speak beyond the throbbing pain. "People have children that bring them sorrow. People have children that end up dying. So what if we cannot have children? I have given my whole life to Jeremy. I have given my life to this marriage. Every dime I make I have given to him to invest in his businesses. I don't even have a personal savings account for myself. All my earnings goes into a joint account, which I could not even access with my card today to pay for my lunch. We have been happy enough these 10 years. What has suddenly changed?" Even as she said it, her mind rebelled. There was nothing happy about her marriage. Number. Especially not in the last 8 years. Her husband was a lazy, cheating, ne'er-do-well, but she had stuck with him, determined to make the best of a bad situation. "Yes," her mother-in-law sneered at her, "and we have tolerated you these 10 years, waiting for you to prove your worth, and that is why we have blocked the joint account. The money in it is now for Jeremy as payment for putting up with a barren woman for 10 years. The shares are his too. This house is our family house. I gave it to him as a wedding gift, and now I am moving back in with him and his new wife. Please sign the divorce agreement quickly so that we can go ahead and register their wedding. The door to Jeremy's room opened, and the woman who was not his cousin pranced out. She had changed into very skimpy shorts and a little blouse that barely came down over her bosom. She was carrying a bag full of Naomi's clothes, barely zipped up, which she threw at the front door, then turned to look at her. "Out with the old and in with the new," she said in a sing-song voice. Jeremy came behind her, also carrying a bag of clothes, which he threw out the door. Her panic finally subsided, and a cold realization settled on her mind. This was not a spur-of-the-moment thing. This was a plan they had been concocting for a long time. Jeremy looked at her, blood, sweat, and tears staining her face, and scrunched up his nose. "Disgusting," he said. "I have hated you for years. I want nothing to do with you anymore." She looked at him unbelieving. The utter ingratitude. She had kept this man for the last several years, and all without failing in her household duties. She had not divorced him despite his infidelities, and he found her disgusting. A bitter smile crossed her face. She should have divorced him years ago. It just wasn't the done thing in this society. She steadied herself, wiping her face, not even feeling the cut on her temple. "Okay, why should I fight? Since you find me disgusting, I will leave." She picked up the divorce document from the ground, where her mother-in-law had tossed it and browsed quickly through it. It said that the house, the bank accounts, and the cars would belong to Jeremy, since he was the one that had put her through design school. She signed it with an unsteady hand and got up off the floor. Outside, she picked up her bags and dragged them to the gate, where she called an Uber. "Where to?" the driver asked. "Z's hotel." She cried herself to sleep that Friday night and could not eat the whole weekend long. People are like an addictive drug. That's what makes goodbyes so painful. 10 years of her life gone just like smoke. Not that they had been 10 years of bliss, quite the contrary, but she had made the conscious decision to love her husband and wait for his love to return to her. For 8 years, she had put up with his neglect, his insults, and even his unfaithfulness. Beyond all that, she had covered for his sterility, which she had discovered not 2 years after their marriage. She had gone to the doctor alone to find out why she was not getting pregnant and had confirmed that everything was fine with her. She had then invited Jeremy to go along with her, and at first he refused. But eventually, after several weeks of persuasion and pushing on her part, he agreed, on the condition that they went to a doctor that he chose. So they did, and the result, to her surprise, was that he was perfectly fine, while she had severe hormonal imbalances. She went to a third clinic and had herself retested, only to confirm the results of the first doctor, so she went back to the doctor Jeremy had chosen alone. When he saw that she was no fool, and being afraid of her threat of a lawsuit for malpractice, he told her the truth. Her husband had bribed him to alter the results to make her out to be barren. The fact was that he himself was completely sterile as a result of his drug and alcohol abuse in his university days. Back home, she noticed that Jeremy had begun to take strange supplements, which he did a poor job of hiding from her, since she knew every inch of the house. She swallowed the pain of betrayal and never confronted him. Instead, she began to talk to him about adoption, and that even if he never had children of his own, he could make himself a name that would last for generations to come. That was 8 years ago, and that was when their troubles began. Jeremy began to cheat on her in his anxiousness to prove that he was a virile man, but the more he found himself unable to get any woman pregnant, the more his despair grew, and the more he blamed his wife as a scapegoat for his troubles. Then he began to be rude, until the rudeness became outright insults, though he never hit her. Then he reduced the money he usually gave her for housekeeping, but she continued to love him and be patient with him. However, when her career took off and she began to bring in a much larger income than him, He became jealous and stopped hiding his infidelities and abuse. Her depositing all of her salary and dividends in their joint account and asking permission to take some out for her personal use only furthered his sense of inferiority, and her gifts were like bitter medicine in his mouth. His mother egged him on, giving him all the support and shielding him from the consequences of his actions, as she did when she shielded him from his father while in university. Naomi laughed bitterly at the memories. In the pain of the moment, she had thoughtlessly signed the divorce agreement, giving away all her shares in the company that she had built from scratch. They had taken everything from her. On Monday, she dressed up and went to work. When the elevator stopped, at the floor of the building that Serene Designs occupied, she stepped out and greeted her receptionist, who turned a worried, fearful face to her and put out her hand to stop her. Then she noticed that her staff were standing around in groups whispering, rather than being at their desks. "What's going on? Why aren't you working?" she called out, and they scattered. The footman came up to her and said apologetically, "Sorry, ma'am, but I have been instructed not to let you into the office anymore." "Instructed? By who?" she asked, as the answer to her question dawned in her mind. Rather than answer, he began to apologize profusely, as though he had done something wrong. She pushed him gently aside and strode into her office. Inside, she found Jeremy's girlfriend sitting in the new ergonomic seat she had researched and purchased to ease the pain in her back from long hours spent sitting and designing. "Felicia," she said, "what do you think you are doing?" "Please refer to me by my proper name," she said with a triumphant smirk. "We registered our marriage this morning. I am now Mrs. Wright. As to what I am doing, have you forgotten that you signed the divorce agreement? All your shares have become Jeremy's, and you are now just a staff member. I have come here specially this morning to let you know that you are fired. I will now take over as CEO and creative director of this company." Naomi laughed, but it was bitter and mirthless. "Really?" she said. "And what do you know about interior design? What do you know about running a business?" "I know enough to know that all the properties and other assets of this business now belong to me. I am a university graduate, unlike you who only went to design school. I am a better match for Jeremy, and a better fit for this company." "I see. Okay, since I've signed the documents, I will not quarrel with you. Let me clear out my drawers." Felicia slammed her hand on the desk. "Everything here belongs to the company, including the designs and inspirations. The company owns everything. I will not let you sabotage me by taking important items and documents with you. You leave with nothing." "Felicia," Naomi said, "I built this company myself with my bare hands. This is my brainchild." Felicia laughed and rubbed her tummy. "It looks like you are confused," she said. "This is a child." Naomi's eyes opened wide. "You are pregnant?" she asked in shock and disbelief. "Of course. Are you sure?" Felicia laughed again derisively, and tears sprang into Naomi's eyes. Was she really having the child she could not have with Jeremy? Had she really become barren over the years without knowing it? "We are not all barren," Felicia replied at length in a loud voice for the entire office to hear. "If you had been able to give Jeremy a child, even a girl child, even a single child, you would not be where you are today. You are a curse on our family, and I am a blessing." Naomi turned around and walked away, hot tears stinging the back of her eyes. She held herself in check until she was again in her hotel room, and then a wave of nausea hit her. Rushing to the bathroom, she threw up the little breakfast she had been able to eat, and then sat on the floor and cried. She stayed in that hotel for a week, hardly eating, crying all day and sleepless at night, until she became a shadow of her former self. She had turned off her phone. Any clients who could not reach her would call the office, and any friends she had ever had long been lost in the mess of a marriage that she had sacrificed her self-respect for. Whatever the reason was, right now there was really no one whose shoulder she could cry on. She was now without any intimate friends. When she finally turned it back on, the first call that came through was her mother. "Naomi, what's the matter? I have been restless about you for several days now. Did something happen? You sound so down. Are you crying? Naomi told her everything that had happened, and they wept together for a while, her mother cursing Jeremy and his mother. Naomi Lillian Winners, she said finally, calling her by her full maiden name. Are you surprised by this? Because I am not. Your ex-husband is a weak, no-good cheating mama's boy who has been abusing you for years, and you have put up with it. Now that he has divorced you, he has only set you free. You have hit rock bottom, so you cannot go any lower. It is time to climb out. You have given him 1 week's worth of tears, and that is enough. Stop crying and move on with your life. But Mummy, where do I start? You are the businesswoman and you have my bank card. I kept that money for a rainy day, and it will not get rainier than today. Use it, start over, start your life over, and don't look back. She took her mother's advice and registered Reveneer Creations at the Corporate Affairs Commission the following week, and got down to work. Luckily, although she had an official computer, she did most of her designs on her personal laptop, which she had with her. With her mother's money, she rented a small apartment on the ground floor of an apartment block, the living room of which she arranged into an office. She bought a used 2006 Honda CR-V and began to call her old clients to try to win them from Serene Designs Limited. Several weeks later, she was yet to convince a single client to work with her. They all preferred to stay with an established company rather than taking the risk of moving with her. But Mrs. Pemberton, she said in her most cajoling voice, I decorated the living room already, and we had an agreement that you would consult with me when you were ready to do the bedrooms. Yes, came the squeaky voice over the receiver, but that was before you left the company, and my agreement was with the company and not with you as a person. But I am the person who designed it. That may be so, but what do I do if we have disagreements? I would rather settle with a company that can afford to undo a costly mistake than with a new company that has no money. It is brave of you to start a new company, but you should build up the reputation of this new company before you can expect to get big money clients. Naomi had to yield to the truth of this reasoning, but she did not have another 6 years to invest in building a new reputation, and she did not want to go back to the years of struggling without even the meager support she had been receiving from her ex-husband. She rang off and ran her hands through her hair in frustration and looked at the names left on her old client list. There were 5, but 4 of them had been terminal projects, and there was little chance that they would soon have any work for her. There was only one that she could expect to get a positive response from. She picked up her phone again and prepared to type out the number of Mrs. Bethany de Bruce's personal secretary when she had a thought. She checked her watch and decided to call Mr. Leon de Bruce Jr. instead. To what do I owe the pleasure of this call? She heard his deep voice over the phone. Hello, Mr. de Bruce. How have you been? I was having a bad day until I heard your voice. She was used to his flirtation by now. She had met Leon de Bruce so many times over the past few months in the course of her work designing the interior decoration for their newest acquisition, a 10-story structure up in the middle of town where they were in the process of moving the company headquarters to. And while during her marriage she had discouraged such flirtation since she did not want to give Jeremy any cause to abuse her more, she now had every intention to take advantage of it now, to attract business to her new company. She laughed. I'm glad I can be of such use to you. Are you free? Can we see? As a matter of fact, I'm going out of the country this evening. My flight is in 2 hours. I have a meeting in Aruba tomorrow morning, but I'll be back next week. Can you wait till then? Naomi's heart sank. 1 week was not a lot of time, but for a new company, it was. Her funds had run dangerously low. She needed to act quickly to get jobs before autumn started, because most companies made their budgets then. And if there was no budget for renovations and decorations, then there would be no work the following year. Are you in the office right now? She asked. Could I join you on your ride to the airport? That's fine, Leon said. I'm leaving in 30 minutes. Can you get here by then? I'll be there, she said enthusiastically, glad that she had had the foresight to buy the car. Sometimes ordering a taxi could take a while. She refreshed the color of her lipstick, changed her comfortable shoes to high heels that lifted her outfit from worn to styled, and was on her way to Paragon Finance headquarters within 5 minutes. The secretary opened the door and let her into Leon's office. He got up to receive her, breaking into a pleasant smile before a look of concern shadowed his face. "Carol, tell the driver to be out front in 10 minutes. He called to his secretary's retreating back, then he addressed Naomi again. "You look different. Did you lose weight? Have you been ill?" Naomi looked at him, saw the genuineness of his feelings, and answered, before she had time to consider her words. "I got divorced. It was a bit difficult." Leon stopped. He was still concerned, but he felt his heart leap in his chest. He tried to maintain his concerned look and repressed a smile of joy. "Oh, that's too bad. How are you managing?" "I'm handling it," she answered dismissively, trying to look professional and competent, already regretting her forthrightness. "But I've come to discuss business with you." No matter how brave a face she tried to put on it, he could see how it had been with her. The dark circles under her slightly sunken eyes could only be disguised by makeup for those who had not looked into those eyes as often as he had. Her thin frame might be construed as being fashionable for those who did not know what a foodie she was, and her laughter could not hide her tiredness to a person who had lain awake at night, remembering the pleasant echoes of the sound. He wanted to hold her hand, to hold her and comfort her, but he bided his time. If her fool of a husband had finally divorced her, no one could blame him for taking his chance at winning her. He picked up his briefcase and held open the door for her. "Shall we?" he said gallantly. She passed through and was soon seated in the back seat of his Mercedes. Leon pushed a button, and the privacy partition went up. "So, how are you finding the weather these days?" he asked. "Autumn is nearly here. It's not as hot as it used to be. It's pleasant." "Yeah," he said. "I like autumn. I particularly like autumn fashion. I have this coat I bought last year, and I haven't had an opportunity to wear it yet. It's too heavy for summer and too light for winter. I got it from a new fashion house in Tibet. Small company, but a lot of potential. I am thinking of advancing them alone, but I'm not sure it is a safe investment. I have to try the coat first." Naomi listened, impatient but polite. She tried several times to turn the conversation before they got to the airport, but Leon just kept talking and rambling on about non-issues. She could hardly get a word in until the driver pulled up at the private entrance of the airport and drove towards the Learjet with its engine already running. "Well, we are here," said Leon with a big smile. "Come on." And he hopped out of the car. Naomi sat for a moment, her mouth slightly open. Perhaps the flight was delayed, and he preferred to talk on board. She clambered out after him and tried to catch up with him as he climbed up into the plane. "What are you doing?" she asked nervously. "I haven't told you why I wanted to see you yet, but there really isn't any time left." She felt defeated. "Oh, I'm sorry, you are right," Leon said with fake worry in his voice. "Why don't you come with me then? We can talk on the flight, and when we get to Aruba, I will put you on a flight back." Naomi looked unsure. "I don't have my passport," she said weakly. "That can easily be sorted out." He called the air hostess and whispered into her ears. "Settled," he said with a smile. She smiled back, still unsure, and his heart fluttered again. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Her grit, her determination, her passion for her work, and those eyes that looked like endless lakes of dark water on a moonlit night that invited you to dive in, and that mouth, those lips. He caught himself biting the inner part of his lower lip and dragged his attention back to her eyes. She made him weak. She had made him weak the first time she had stepped into his office with her huge mood board and pressed his hand in a firm, businesslike handshake. He was devastated to see the ring on her left hand that day, and he had cursed his bad luck. As soon as their meeting was over, he switched to the Google tab and typed her name in the search bar. Several pictures referencing Serene Designs and its staff came up, a few featuring Naomi herself. Then, pictures of a Jeremy Wright filled the screen, a no-good wannabe, inserting himself awkwardly into social situations with people who were obviously out of his league. Then came the stories of his infidelities, the gossip columns, the salacious stories. Could this be Naomi Wright's husband? How in the world had the intelligent Naomi Wright been deceived into marriage by such a fool as Jeremy Wright? He tried to forget about her then. Clearly there had to be something wrong in her character to have married such a man. But the more he saw her, the more he admired the strength of character that made her push on daily, despite what her domestic life must have been like. He found himself falling deeper in love with her. "I am no longer with Serene Designs," she said bluntly. "So I've had to start over. My new company is called Revenir Creations. Serene Designs has just finished the work on the new headquarters, but I hear your company is no longer going to sell the old building. What are you going to do with it?" "Actually, we bought the 4 buildings around it, and we plan to convert everything into residential properties for sale. We will actually put up a bidding process for interior designers to submit their proposals for the various units after the architects and building engineers have finished the plans. But this will take some time, at least 6 months. Actually, the bidding will not start until March next year." Naomi's heart dropped. "Oh," she said, "I was hoping you had something that I could work on right now. Even if we did, you are a new company, and unless you have some good money in reserve, I don't think our board of directors would agree to work with you because you cannot submit previous completed work done by the company." Her disappointment was evident, but it was not unexpected. "But listen," Leon continued, "there is a new estate financed by Paragon, and we have purchased one of the houses to use as a guest house. I of course want to decorate it, and I have just asked Serene Designs to make a proposal. But since you are actually the designer that I was hoping to work with, I could let you submit your own proposal as well. What do you think? At least with that you have something to submit to the board." The look of delight and gratitude she gave him made him itch to hold her. "But I have one condition." She became wary. "Marry me." She stared at him aghast for a moment, then gave him a careful smile. "Is this one of your jokes, Leon?" "I'm being completely serious," he said, still smiling. "Listen, this is not a good time to make such jokes. I just went through a difficult divorce and I'm still raw." "I'm not joking," he insisted. "I would not joke about such a thing, especially at such a time. But I need a wife, and I think you are the best I can get." He leaned forward, his voice more earnest, as though making a business deal with a client. "I'm not really asking for anything physical, at least not yet. And I want to treat you. I don't like the way you look, and we have been friends for a while, haven't we? Let me take care of you. This trip will be our honeymoon, and I won't come near you. I will even be too busy to spend any time with you." "What is the catch?" she asked, still on her guard. Leon leaned forward. "There is no catch. I want to take care of you. When you were married, I could not, but now you are free. Don't worry, I won't demand anything in return, except—" a roguish look came into his eyes, "maybe a little kiss now and then." She looked at him sideways and laughed. Then she laughed again, bitterly. Leon de Bruce Jr. had always been a joker, a handsome joker, but she had never taken his advances seriously, and he had never pursued her. She felt nothing for him. How could she marry him out of the blues? But then she thought about her circumstances. What did I gain from a love marriage? She asked herself. What is love, anyway? What was the point of it all? The wasted years of my life? She looked at Leon's handsome face. Jeremy was more handsome, but Leon's eyes were steady, confident. At least he is rich and not bad to look at, and I have never heard anything bad about him. What is the point in spending another year getting to know him? What will that guarantee? If he wants to marry me, why should I refuse? Love is a joke. It failed me, and he is offering to help my business. Even if we eventually get divorced, at least I would have gotten something out of the relationship. But should I be thinking of divorce at the beginning of a marriage? The thoughts whirled to and fro in her mind as Leon looked at her. She felt the pressure of his look. She tried to consider the pros and cons, but her mind could not think with him looking at her like he was doing, and finally she said, "Okay," in a challenging voice. "Now, if you back out, I can sue you for breach of promise." She looked at him, hoping to see mirth, but was surprised to see a look of deep satisfaction, and she panicked. "Wait," she started to say, but Leon's voice was triumphant. "Then it's settled. We will have a small ceremony in Aruba. I hope that is what you want too." "Yes," she said. "I don't want the press to hear about it, especially the gossip press." It was late now, and the hostess had brought blankets and pillows for them. Leon got up and took off his jacket and tie. He was wearing a fitted office shirt beneath it that showed off his muscular arms and flat tummy. Naomi looked now with a new awareness of him that her previous marriage vows had not allowed her to feel before. He caught her looking at him. "Do you like what you see?" he teased, and smiled as she turned her head away, blushing. "I don't mind," he said. "I can be your male model. You can look as much as you like." He considered taking off his shirt to let her see more of him. He definitely wanted to see more of her, but his position was still tenuous. Until he had placed a ring on her finger, he had to handle her with care. She was obviously hurting and desperate, which is why she had taken this decision. He must not give her reason to change her mind. He converted his seat into a bed and settled in to sleep. She did the same. The week in Aruba was refreshing and peaceful. Leon was as good as his word. He booked separate rooms and busied himself with his meetings, letting her have as much freedom and rest as she needed. On their last evening, however, he took her to a quaint little church overlooking the beach where there was a minister waiting, and they were married, he wearing white shorts and a white t-shirt, and she a white loose-fitting sleeveless gown and sandals with sand on her feet. Then they signed the marriage certificate, with the old church warden and his daughter as witnesses, and Leon returned her to the hotel. The following evening found him driving her to her house back in town. He invited himself in, to her embarrassment, and looked around, but he seemed impressed by what she had achieved with a modest budget. "You really are talented," he said appreciatively. "Everything looks high class." "There are secrets to the trade," she said, grateful that he did not show disgust at her DIY innovations. "There are secrets to you too," he said. "I wonder if you will ever let me find out what they are." The doorbell chimed suddenly as a visitor came in, and Felicia stood there, cocky and brazen. "So, this is where you have buried yourself," she said, her nose wrinkling delicately in derision as her eyes took in the small office. "I've been trying to reach you for a week. Where have you been?" Naomi turned to Leon. "Mr. de Bruce, this is Felicia Wright, my ex-husband's new wife. She replaced me as CEO of Serene Designs. Felicia, this is Mr. de Bruce. He is minus." Felicia cut her off dismissively. Yes, I don't have time for all this. I came to collect the designs." "What designs?" "The designs for the Everton project, the Marsh Valley project, and the High Church. They are not in the computer, and I hear that you are with them. So hand them over. They are Serene Designs' property." Naomi looked at Leon, who had retreated, and was leaning against her desk watching the interaction. "Thanks for driving me back, and thanks so much for the holiday. I will bring the first draft maybe a week after I receive the building plan from your company." Leon nodded and moved to leave. As he passed by, he put his hand on her arm. "Take care of yourself," he said. "We have a lot to talk about." He waited for her nod and walked out. "I see you already have a boyfriend, or are you selling yourself to get jobs? What holiday are you talking about?" "He sent me to Aruba on holiday," Naomi answered. "I just got back. That is why you could not reach me." She saw envy blaze across Felicia's features. "So, you are nothing but a slut after all," she said. "Anyway, hand over the files." "First, let me say that you have some nerve calling me a slut after you came into my home, smiled at me, and ate my food, all the while sleeping with my husband. Second, those designs for those accounts are unfinished. They were not approved by the committee. That is why they are not online. Therefore, they are not the property of Serene Designs. If you want them, you have to buy them from me. Otherwise, I suggest that you make your own designs. The drafts were already approved by the clients, so that makes whatever work you have done Serene Designs. Oh no, they were approved, and the drafts that were approved are in the computer. The final drafts were not approved. You can tell one of your staff to create a final draft based on the approvals. But I am not going to give you my designs, Felicia. Why do you want to make this difficult, Naomi? I can make things very difficult for you, you know. Please leave, Felicia. I just got back from a holiday, and I don't want to be stressed. Felicia looked around the office. Do you think you can compete with me? She challenged. I will be back, and it won't be pretty. Please leave. Naomi watched her through the window and saw her drive away in her own car. The red Mazda CX-5. She missed that car, her old reliable. It had been perfect for carrying files, samples, plants, all sorts of things. She had bought it with her seed money and built Serene Designs from scratch with it. But as she watched Felicia's inexperienced hands sideswipe a trash can and add yet another ding to the dents she had put on the car in the last several weeks, she knew that she would never drive a Mazda again. The memory of the last 8 years culminating in the divorce was, even despite her new marriage, too painful. But she was determined to come back stronger. She would work hard to build another company and win back her clients, and she did not have to start from scratch this time. Leon had given her a foot in the door, and she would push it wide open. The following day, she received the floor plans of the guest house and sat down to create a proposal. It was her only job, and she put her heart into it. Her phone rang at 11 p.m. She did not recognize the number. Hello, she said, her voice cautious. Hello, Mrs. de Bruce, came Leon's slightly teasing voice. As a married woman, should you be answering calls from strange numbers so late at night? Don't you think your husband will be jealous? Well, as a married man, you should not be calling women at 11 p.m. either. Your wife might be jealous too. I don't think my wife would be jealous if I called you. In fact, I think she would be very happy. I don't know about happiness. I don't even know what I am actually doing. The way we got married is crazy. It is only crazy to you. I see it as an opportunity that presented itself to me, and I snatched it up before anyone else could. What do you mean before anyone else could? Apart from you, no one else is interested in me. My dear lady, you have no idea how many men know you, or at least know about you. Based on the conversations I have had at the club and at the gym, I can tell you categorically that I am not the only one who desires you, my dear. You are beautiful, intelligent, and loyal. Don't sell yourself short. Naomi felt gratified by the compliment. Anyway, why are you awake so late at night? Don't you need your beauty sleep? I will have all the time to sleep when Reveneer Creations is up and running. I'm trying to finish this proposal, so right now I'm making some sketches. But you know that the job is yours, right? You are the one I wanted when I reached out to Serene Designs. Yes, but if I do a shoddy job, if I don't win the contract fairly, one day someone will accuse you of nepotism or corruption. And anyway, the board will look at my work on this project before deciding if I will handle the old building, right? You remind me of why I love you. You use your brains to get ahead, not your beauty. Naomi was silent at his sudden declaration of love. Don't blush, sweetheart, I married you, but I will take time to win your heart. I won't take you for granted. She could not answer. I have told my mother about our marriage. She approves and wants to see you. She wants you to move in as soon as possible. I don't mind seeing her, but can you give me some time first? I don't want to move in with you yet. Of course, I know you need time to center yourself before putting yourself under a man again. Yes, and I think it would be good to finish the bidding process on the residential buildings as well. But I will at least give you a driver, as well as an allowance. My little car is not prestigious enough or big enough to need a driver, Naomi laughed. Then I will get you a new car. Just let me know the make you want. Naomi breathed a sigh of relief. She and Leon were of the same mind in almost everything, and at least she did not have to worry about in-law drama. She was at her office a few weeks later, working on completing the decoration of the house, when the doorbell announced another visitor. She was surprised when her secretary announced Jeremy Wright. He sauntered into her inner office, close behind her secretary, making the poor girl jump uncomfortably when she realized just how close he was to her back. The side of Naomi's nose curled up in disgust. Nothing had changed. Jeremy was still Jeremy. Now, at least, she had the benefit of being on the outside, looking in at him without the veil of marriage to make her tolerant. "It's okay, Phoebe. This is my ex-husband," she said to her secretary, who was about to give the leech a piece of her mind. Jeremy watched with misplaced amusement as the girl turned her nose up at him just before she shut the door, enclosing them in the little partition that she had carved out into a workstation for herself. Then his eyes took in her little desk, where she had been sitting barefoot, her drawing station by the window, and the assortment of swatches, pencils, chalks, and other knickknacks that crowded the shelves. His expression changed to a feigned disgust. "Let's move to the outer room where I receive guests," she said without preamble. He eyed her comfortable, elegant clothes and easily identified the designer bag on a side table just behind her. Then he followed her through the adjoining door to her visitor's room, tastefully set out with complimentary colored sofas. Jeremy looked around with obvious admiration. "Naomi, Naomi," he said in a sing-song voice, "you have not lost your touch. Beautiful woman, beautiful clothes, beautiful office. I heard you have a new sugar daddy who even takes you abroad on vacations. Is he your new benefactor? Does he know you are my castaway?" "My new benefactor? Who was my previous benefactor?" "Oh, come on, Naomi. Have you forgotten already that I supported you to build the company? I put you through design school and sponsored you." "We were married, Mr. Wright. It was not strange for you to support me, just the way that I supported you. But we are divorced now, and I hope that we can still be civil to each other. After all, I never offended you when we were married. There is no reason for your rudeness today." "No reason? No, love, I have plenty of reasons. First and foremost, imagine my surprise when I heard that you were the person behind our new competitor, Revenir Creations. You have the nerve to compete against me, to take a confirmed business away from me. That project was supposed to be mine, can you deny it? That business was offered to Serene Designs when I was there. When Mr. de Bruce found out that I had left, he offered the job to Revenir, but to make it fair, he asked each of us to submit our design bids." "Mr. de Bruce? Isn't that too formal for your boyfriend? Or do you still pretend that you two aren't dating, or that you did not get the contract in bed?" "My dating status is none of your business, Mr. Wright. As to whether I got it in his bed or not, my designs speak for themselves. I put in my bid and I outcompeted yours. It is not my fault that your wife has fired the good staff I hired at Serene Designs, while she herself is a talentless—" She stopped herself just in time and allowed her anger to cool. She would not allow Jeremy to irritate her. Never again. She would never allow him to be worth it ever again. Whether Serene Designs submitted a bid or not, that contract should have been ours. He made us the offer. I could actually take him to court for breach of contract. He advertised the project. You made the offer, and he rejected it. Don't you know how business works?" she asked, but she knew that he actually did not know anything about business. He had spent all his time living as a kept man, living off her, and had never taken any time to learn anything about the business. "It still does not take away from the fact that you got the job by sleeping around. I could take the story to the press, you know." He lowered his voice and leaned forward. "By the way, how is he in bed? Is he better than me?" "You can take that story anywhere you want, Mr. Wright." She looked fully at him, allowing him to see the complete disdain in her eyes. He was offended. Does he know you are barren? He barked harshly. The disdain on her face only deepened, and she scooted to the edge of her seat, an obvious signal that the meeting was over. Is there anything else, Mr. Wright? I have work to do. It's so soon after the divorce that I'm certain that you were already seeing him while we were married. And I actually had some remorse about throwing you out. I did not know that I was doing you a favor. You did do me a big favor, she said, smiling sweetly at him. But I met him after our divorce. If I had been as sleazy as you, I would not have been rewarded with a man like him. Jeremy's face darkened in anger. This was not the pliable woman he had been used to mistreating. Where are the designs that Felicia asked you for? He demanded. I told her that she had no right to those designs, Naomi answered, and I'm telling you the same thing. It looks like you have forgotten who you are. No, she replied coldly. It is you who have forgotten. I am no longer your little wife, and you have no authority over me or my life. Those designs are mine to do with as I will. I took nothing out of Serene Designs, even though it is my company by right. And anyway, what is the matter? Are the clients complaining about the quality of your new wife's work? Jeremy strode around the coffee table and, gripping her arms roughly, lifted her off her seat, making her cry out in surprise and pain. Where are the designs? He barked. The door flew open and her driver marched in. In 2 steps, he grabbed the surprised Jeremy and flung him against the far wall and stood over him, his face daring him to get up. Thank you, Rufus, Naomi said to him, her heart beating fast, and silently blessing Leon for having the forethought of giving her a driver that doubled as a bodyguard. Then she addressed her ex-husband. The next time I see you here, I will call the police. As you can see, I am not as helpless as you think I am. Oh, you are. You are even more helpless than that, I will show you. I will make you regret ever going against me. The rest of his threats were lost as Rufus unceremoniously walked him out. She was shaken, not by the threats, but by the violence, and she called Leon for some consolation. He came over to her office. She was sitting at her workstation when he arrived, and she watched him walk from his car. He was not as handsome in face as Jeremy was, but in every other respect he was better. She admired the masculine lines of his jaw, the perfect cut of his trousers, and the broadness of his shoulders, which were obvious under the tailored jacket. His stride was confident and self-assured. His voice, when she heard him respond to her secretary's welcome, was soothing. She got up to go into her visitor's room, but he opened the door first, and within 3 steps she was in his arms. It was the first time he had ever held her, and she felt his strong arms and felt safe, the tension leaving her shoulders. How are you? I'm okay now. That bastard, what did he say to you? Oh, just stuff and nonsense about going to the press about our relationship since I supposedly got the project in your bed. He looked at her, his face annoyed, but a little twinkle appearing in his eyes. I wish you had gotten the project in my bed. She blushed and slapped him on the chest, causing him to let go of her and clasp his hands dramatically over his heart. Stop playing, this is a serious situation, she said, half laughing. And what about him? Did he not get as far as he has gotten in life by being in your bed? And what about his current wife? Did she not get to be CEO of Serene Designs by laying in his bed? What is so wrong with my bed? She was still feeling flustered by his unexpected hug. She had not expected it to feel so good. But do you see now why I refused to announce our marriage? Yes, because you know how vicious your ex is. But still, I wish you would consider it. I have considered it, and I will move in as soon as I have completed the project. Mr. Wright has threatened to go to the press, though. Should we be worried? Don't worry about the press. I expect that the legal department will inform him of the repercussions of slandering my name and that of Paragon Finance. When I sent them the letter of invitation to carry out the project, I attentioned you, and I stated that I wanted you to be the one to do it. When I opened it up to bidding, I allowed them to compete fairly, but not only did they submit a very poor project design, they sent a very junior staff to explain it. Of course, he did a very poor job. Then later, against the rules of the bidding process, Mrs. Wright met up with me at the gym. very scantily clad, I must say, and tried to apologize. He made air quotes with his fingers, for being rude to me when she met me here. She said she did not know that I was Leon de Bruce. So right now, believe me, they do not have a leg to stand on. If Jeremy Wright is foolish enough to go ahead with this smear campaign, I will sue him for everything he has. Perhaps I will even win Serene Designs back for you as a wedding gift. Number, I don't want it anymore. She rubbed her arms where Jeremy had held her and winced. What happened? Are you in pain? Oh, nothing serious. He grabbed me by the arms and lifted me out of my seat. It's just a bit achy, that's all. She had hardly finished talking when he was by her side again. I'm sorry, he said gently, then lifted her wide sleeve up to her shoulder, revealing the reddened imprint of Jeremy's hand. At the sight of it, he closed his eyes, breathing deep and clenching his teeth in anger. It's okay. He will never do it again. Rufus jumped in here like a superhero and flung him like a wet rag against the wall, then practically threw him out. I was so happy. He is a coward. He won't try to be physical with me again. She looked up at Leon's face. Then, on an impulse, she put her and on his cheek and kissed him on the lips. The surprise and joy that blossomed in his face was worth it. Later, as he stood behind her in the little bathroom, watching her rearrange her hair and makeup in the mirror, while he did the same with his clothes, he said, Now you really have to move in with me. The following day, social media was awash with the salacious story of the adulteress Naomi Wright, former wife of Jeremy Wright, and none other than the die-hard bachelor son of Leon Bayer de Bruce. By the day after that, it was carried in the newspapers too, and pictures of both of them taken from the internet were pasted everywhere. Within the week, however, all the news had been scrubbed, as Paragon Finance's legal team swiftly sought legal redress in the court. Leon's team presented their side, and neither Jeremy, Felicia, nor Serene Designs could resist blame. They begged for an out-of-court settlement after the legal department of the company quit en masse in protest. They had indeed warned Jeremy and his wife of what would be the consequences of their actions, but not being business people, they refused to listen and understand. The amount of compensation that Paragon Finance insisted on was enough to bankrupt Serene Designs, and their clients closed their dealings with them. Many moved their business to Revenir Creations, as did most of the staff. February the 14th of the following year was a Saturday. Paragon Finance was hosting a Valentine's Day dinner, and all its clients and stakeholders were invited. Leon walked up behind Naomi as she stood in the large walk-in closet of his house, putting finishing touches to her outfit, fixing her earrings, and trying to decide on which necklace to wear. He lifted her hair off her shoulder, exposing her neck, which he kissed, before placing the gold necklace with a jewel-encrusted locket pendant around it. "Oh, it's beautiful," she breathed, opening the locket to read the inscription. Loved, wanted, adored, for always, Leon on the inside. He kissed her exposed shoulder again, then looking appreciatively at her reflection in the mirror in front of them, he gave her a gentle hug and then placed his hand on her tummy, feeling the little baby bump. She relaxed into him, thankful again for the day she'd taken a crazy chance and accepted his sudden marriage proposal. It had been like a joke, but today she was the beloved daughter-in-law of the most generous mother-in-law a woman could ask for. She was loved by a handsome, wealthy, generous man, and surprise, surprise, she was pregnant. Leon rocked her gently for a while, then whispered into her neck, "If we are going to go, then we need to go now if we want to be fashionably late. Otherwise, we will just be plain late, and that's rude." She laughed and followed him out to the waiting car. After a lot of introductions and conversations, Leon left her to wander the room as he talked business with a guest that did not involve interior decoration, and she walked up to the bar to refresh her mocktail. She caught sight of Jeremy and turned her head away, but that did stop him from walking up to her and starting a conversation. "Hi, Naomi," he said, walking a bit unsteadily as he made his way towards her. She was surprised that he would get drunk at such an event. "You look beautiful tonight." She did not respond, hoping that he would take himself off. You look as beautiful as you did when we got married. You always had such a beautiful figure, and it looks like you have gained weight in all the right places." He said this last part with a wink, allowing his eyes to drop to her bosom, which was indeed noticeably fuller. She glanced at him in disgust and turned to sit on a bar stool, still not dignifying him with a verbal answer. "You are glowing," he said, taking the stool to her left. "Is it all because of your boyfriend? I hear he is rich. I hear he is the only son of the de Bruce family, so he is going to inherit Paragon Finance. You are doing very well for yourself. I didn't know that you could catch such a man." She began lightly tapping on the bar impatiently. The mixologist was making such a show of making her drink, tossing bottles, shaking cans, and sliding about, that a little crowd was gathering and murmuring appreciatively. She wished he would work faster. Jeremy was slightly slurring his words. She knew from experience that he could be a bit unpredictable when under the influence of alcohol. He moved his stool closer to her. "No matter how rich he is, tell me, is he good in bed? Is he better than me? I am more handsome and I'm rich too. Not as rich as him, but I'm independent." At this she laughed incredulously and finally turned to answer him. "Independent? You are a failed businessman. You were living off my income when we were married, and even now, your money comes from selling off my assets." "Yes, but I am still independent, and I am sure that I am better in bed than your boyfriend. I was your first, remember? And there is no one better than the first." Naomi looked about for someone to deliver her from her uncomfortable position. "Is Felicia here? I don't see her." Jeremy was dismissive. "She is not here." "Oh? At such an important event. Is she too pregnant to attend parties? Although I must confess that when I saw her last month, I was surprised to see that her tummy was as flat as ever. She must have good genes." He heard the obvious mockery in her voice, and his face darkened a shade as he struggled for control. He spoke bitterly, his words slurring even more. "Listen, she and my mother deceived me. She was never pregnant. They just wanted access to the company, and now she hardly even gives me anything from it at all. I miss you so much. My life is so much more difficult since you left. She has no talent. She's always complaining about the amount of work she has to do, yet she hardly even goes to the office." He broke off, looking like he was going to cry. "I can't go on like this. Listen, I miss you. I really do. Please come home, please." He had grabbed her wrist and was holding it firmly, as though he could drag her back to his house. She tried to pull away, but he held on tighter. She did not want to cause a scene, so she quietly signed to one of the barmen to come over, hoping that he would see her situation. But before she could say a word, Jeremy immediately ordered 2 glasses of brandy for both of them, and, distracted by the mixologist's display and the other guests who were also placing their orders, he did not notice Naomi's distress. "Let's drink to it. Let's seal the deal with a drink. You come home and I promise I will go with you to the clinic. We will do an IVF. You will have a child for me. You will be honest with me. You won't cheat me like Felicia. That filthy whore. And you take over the business again. Naomi, everything will be just as it was before. Come on, drink. And you can tell your boyfriend not to demand the balance of the compensation, right?" He pushed one of the glasses into her hand, trying to force her to take it, but she resisted and the drink sloshed over her fingers. Her irritation at his harassment had been building from the moment he had started to speak to her, but now, as she felt the splash of liquid on her skin, she reached her limit. She pulled her hand roughly away and slapped him hard across the face with a crack that reverberated through the entire hall. There was a shocked silence, and all eyes turned to stare at them. Jeremy fell off the stool, staggered, and regained his balance. He turned to look at her in shock. It was the first time she had ever touched him with anything less than respect, and it took him a moment for his mind to register. Naomi, for her part, was cradling her wrist against herself. She was not a violent person, and her reaction to him, as well as the sudden pain that flared in her wrist, shocked her, but she met his eyes and did not back down, even as she saw the fury dawn, probably spurred on by the excessive alcohol in his veins, and she watched him lift up his hand to strike her. In the same moment, she heard Leon's voice at her shoulder, and then saw his strong, broad back as he stepped in front of her to shield her from the blow. It never came, however, because he blocked it with one arm and gave Jeremy a punch that knocked him to the ground with the other. "Mr. Wright," he said in a voice loud enough for the crowd at the bar to hear, "you dare to harass my wife." It took a few moments for Jeremy to locate Leon in his sudden daze. "Your wife," Jeremy said. "She is not your wife, she is mine. She is Mrs. Naomi Wright." "You have such a short memory, Mr. Wright. I remind you that you were fool enough to divorce Naomi, freeing her for those of us who were gunning for her. She is Mrs. de Bruce. You have no right to even look at her ever again." Leon turned and led Naomi away. Behind them, Jeremy was demanding as despair washed over him. "Married? Married into the de Bruce family? How? When?" He was still muttering to himself when two burly men in dark suits supported him on both sides and led him to the back entrance of the hall, where they unceremoniously threw him out. Leon de Bruce Jr. took his wife's injured hand and kissed it tenderly. "Do you want to leave? We should put some ice on it so it won't swell." "No, I'm fine. My hand has been itching to slap that man for years." "So has my fist," Leon responded grimly and smiled at her. She smiled back. He slipped his hand around her waist and led her back into the party.
If you liked this story, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps others find the channel. Thanks.